Bottom of the fourth inning, 3-2, Maryland on top of Nebraska. This was the last inning. Josh Overbeek had liftoff into deep right center field, all the way back by that fence. It traveled 449 feet and launched off his bat at 111 miles an hour. Nebraska looking for a little bit of that same success this inning, trying to tie it at 3 or possibly take a lead.
Yeah, that got the Husker scoring going today. They've got 2 runs after Brumbaugh scored on a balk from Logan Coster, but after that pretty rough top of the fourth, they've got to come back with a lot of momentum to at least even this game up.
First pitch to Ben Columbus is a called strike. Columbus, his first time up, has singled. And that's all he's done. Dylan Carey and Clay Bradford will follow. 0-1 to Columbus. Misses low. The count even at 1 ball and 1 strike. And I will say I do have to give credit out there to Logan Coster. He's done a very good job after a lot of rough outings he's faced. As the 1-2 not able to dance into the zone, sits outside at 2-1.
Yeah, it was a decent try by Calarco to try to frame that pitch, but our home plate umpire Koski was not fooled by that one.
2-1. Fouled off to the left side in the protected netting. Count even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. No one out here in the bottom of the fourth inning between Maryland and Nebraska. I think this was a game that a lot of Husker fans had circled on their calendar. Not just this game, but this series, because Maryland last year won the Big Ten tournament. 2-2, hit in the air deep into right field, back at the track, at the wall, it's gone. Ben Columbus ties the game at 3 with a solo blast in back-to-back innings with a leadoff home run that has been given up from Logan Coster.
Back-to-back leadoffs and back-to-back no-doubters. Right over the bullpen, and Ben Columbus continues to swing one of the hottest bats in this Husker lineup, proving why he needs to continue to be a starter at this point in the season.
An absolute bomb off the bat of Ben Columbus. As Dylan Carey shows bunt but pulls back. It's called the ball. But as I was saying before, Ben Columbus went deep. Maryland won the Big Ten tournament last year. They beat it over Iowa. They beat this Nebraska team twice, the 1-0. Fouled off directly behind us. Count even at 1 ball and 1 strike. Where I think a lot of Nebraska fans like, all right, we'll get to see where our team matches against their team. Now, Maryland is not the same team that they were last year. They lost a lot of talent. 1-1 to Dylan Carey. Hit deep in the air into left center field. Not deep enough. Coming on in and making the catch out there in left field is Martin, and 1 away. But I think it's still a good series because Maryland is still a very good baseball team. And the conference schedule for Nebraska this year, Jake, is arguably one of the toughest it's been because you have to play teams like Maryland. You got to play teams like Indiana and Iowa, and Rutgers is no easy team. All teams that were picked to finish in that top 4 of the Big Ten earlier this season, and we've really seen how Nebraska's matched with them. As the first pitch to Clay Bradford is called a ball. Now, what also helps for the Huskers is playing Minnesota later in the year and playing Northwestern earlier in the season as well to give them those conference wins.
You mentioned the difficulty of the conference schedule. That's where all of these midweek non-conference losses are really hurting the Huskers on that schedule at this point. Back-to-back losses against Creighton. They've got one more chance at them, but then you've got a couple of games mixed in there as well from other opponents. That's just where you really would like to see Nebraska pick up a couple.
2-0 called a strike. They're saying that he went around. And Creighton is no slap-around team either. They are a very, very good baseball team. I was up there in Omaha on April 2nd for that game, and they were very compelling then. Kansas is another good one. That time Bradford, he did go around. The count even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. But you remember last year the reason why Nebraska didn't get in to the College World Series is because their midweek games were against Summit League teams that they really struggled against. North Dakota State, South Dakota State. They struggled against UNO, Omaha. And now that they bumped that up, they're making it a little bit tougher. That runs inside nearly hit Bradford. The count is full, 3 balls and 2 strikes. Where they're making a more compelling case of saying, okay, this is why we should be in the College World Series. And what's helped is they won a lot more non-conference games earlier this season, didn't lose as many, but they need to win some more of these conference games as well. So that's fouled off to the right side. Count remains full, 3 balls and 2 strikes. But also having to win the conference games. You like to at least take one from your in-state rival in Creighton, but they also haven't lost a whole lot of bad games either.
And for Nebraska, with the way that Brett Sears and Mason McConaughey, that dynamic duo on a Friday, Saturday, the way they've been pitching.
Is that 3-2 lined into right field, a base hit for Clay Bradford. Reaches aboard with a 1-out single. And that brings up Josh Overbeek.
But as I was saying, with the way that those two have been pitching, it's been a very interesting format because they give Nebraska such a good chance to win every series that they're put in, because on Friday you're confident going into any game with the way that Sears is pitching like we've seen today. And then the Mason McConaughey, who just won Big Ten Pitcher of the Week from the last week because of his performance against Rutgers. To go back-to-back days like that, you can almost expect not necessarily 2 back-to-back wins, but 2 very competitive games that are winnable.
Yeah, absolutely. That is if the bullpen is able to keep you in it as well, which we've seen over the skid has not happened for the Cornhuskers. They tried to check on the runner. He got back in plenty of time. Thing that has hurt Nebraska is, I think earlier this season, it was obviously known Sears, Drew Christo was probably going to be the other starter. Caleb Clark was going to be a starter. McConaughey might have been a starter. They know the rotation a little bit. First pitch is outside to Overbeek. Overbeek went deep into right field last time up. But going back to my point is the rotation isn't as big as I think they were expecting. It's really narrowed down where you don't have Drew Christo there. You don't really have Caleb Clark there. Digging for second on a steal attempt and getting there in plenty of time is Clay Bradford. He steals second with 1 out. He took off, and he got in by plenty of time.
Yeah, good jump there from Bradford to get himself in scoring position. And now Overbeek, who is 1 for 1 with a home run, has a chance to bring in Bradford over from second.
Has a chance to give Nebraska the lead right back in this bottom of the 4th inning. Bradford dancing at second. Overbeek fouls it off the left side.
But back to your point about the bullpen, I think something that Coach Bolt has talked a lot about this week is the fact that Will Walsh, they struggled to be able to get him appearances on the mound because they also like to use his bat so much because he's so effective as a two-way player.
And I think Will Walsh is someone that needs to be used as a starter a little bit more and not so much in the bullpen. 2-1 is called a ball outside, 3-1. Like, Walsh started the game against Creighton on April 2nd, but before that was also a weekend starter as well, where you think, okay, maybe you can go back and have him be your Sunday starter, and he still plays Friday, Saturday in the lineup, and then pitches on Sunday. Obviously not in the lineup today. Overbeek fouls that off the left side. Count remains 3-1. Will Walsh has also been relatively quiet as of late. Really, ever since that Creighton game, hasn't been the same exact player I think we all expected. Now, if he was playing the way he did in that week of the Nichols series where he was batting like .750, I think Nebraska fans would be pretty happy about that. 3-2, ball 4. And Overbeek draws a walk. Turns the lineup back over to Caden Brumbaugh. And 2 are on, 1 is out. And Caden Brumbaugh has singled and has walked. His 2 times up, so he's 1 for 1. He's got an opportunity to give Nebraska this lead right back as well. He's got good speed at second. He's got decent speed at first in Overbeek. First pitch to Caden Brumbaugh. Call the ball upstairs at 84 miles an hour. No one in the bullpen for Maryland right now warming or even tossing.
And that's interesting to me. 72 pitches in the bottom of the 4th for Logan Coster. I mean, yeah, I know it's a tie game at 3 apiece, and we're nearing halfway through this ball game, but for it to be completely a ghost town in the bullpen is very interesting.
And with 1 out, 2 on, and Coster's allowed a lot of hard hit contact as well. 1-0 upstairs, called a ball. 83 miles an hour, 2-0. It's interesting because I feel like there should be someone at least tossing. Maybe not full-fledged warming up, but at least a little bit of soft toss going on in the bullpen. 2-0 to Caden Brumbaugh. Skied in the air, foul. Out of play, and that is the first strike. Counts it's a 2-1.
And this has been quite the battle, too, between Coster and Sears today. Sears with a couple more strikeouts, but we saw in the bottom of the third, Coster can go get 3 strikeouts in a row when he's feeling good. It hasn't been quite the same story here in the bottom of the fourth, but when he finds the strike zone, he can stick on it.
2-1 to Caden Brumbaugh. They check on the runner at second. Bradford got back in plenty of time. The pickoff move over to second with the righty is so tough because he has to spin back around. And when Bradford doesn't have a big lead over there, he's only got about a 7-8 foot lead. It's tough to get him. More so you're just checking on him, making sure he's honest. Now they check on him again, and that throw a little high, nearly got away from the second baseman and Sam Honar. That time makes sense. Bradford really dancing and flirting with stealing going to third base.
He's already stolen one to get over there at second, so it's probably in the back of the mind of Logan Coster already.
2-1, swing and a miss. Count even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Scoreboard says 3-1, but we know that was a swing and a miss, so the count is even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. 2 on, 1 out, bottom of the 4th inning. Runners take off. That is into right field and down. Clay Bradford will score. Nebraska will have the lead. Caden Brumbaugh will make it a 5-3 ball game. A 2-run double from Caden Brumbaugh drives in Josh Overbeek and Clay Bradford on the hit and run. Both runners were taken off on 2 strikes, but only with 1 out, and it's 5-3 Nebraska on top of Maryland.
Yeah, that ball was almost perfectly placed by Caden Brumbaugh, as now a couple of Maryland players are heading to the bullpen to warm up some arms. No one specific yet, but after giving up 2 runs right there for Logan Coster, that one might cost him some time in this game. Still only the bottom of the 4th, but 77 pitches in.
Brings up Riley Silva. He's got a runner at second with really good speed that can double the score of Maryland. And we're going to have time as another Terrapin slowly jogs out to the outfield bullpen. Nebraska crowd let him hear it too and said, "Get your butt out there faster." There he goes. 2-run RBI double from Caden Brumbaugh opens the scoring and gives Nebraska the lead right back. First pitch to Riley Silva, called to strike after he showed bunt.
Not sure if Silva's going to go for the bunt or start swinging his bat here. He's had success with both of them already today.
Oh, 1 to Riley Silva. Ground ball off to second. Picked by Honar, throws over to first, 2 away. Advances the runner onto third as well. So Caden Brumbaugh 90 feet away from scoring with 2 outs as Cole Evans steps up to the plate. Last time up, he struck out. His first time up reached via an error. He's 0 of 2 today. Last time up with that strikeout, it was just Logan Coster locking in and getting 3 straight strikeouts as a flock of birds flies right over Haymarket Park and then spreads out as they hit the concourse roughly.
Yeah, at least 100 birds going over the top of Logan Coster in Haymarket Park.
First pitch to Cole Evans, called a strike. That is the old-fashioned flyover, as we call it. The 0-1 to Cole Evans. Lined into left field and down. Hugging the line, will get all the way to the wall. And Cole Evans makes it 6-3 on a stand-up RBI double.
Well, he had 30 RBIs coming into this weekend, and 31 makes a huge difference in this ball game. And the Huskers keep it rolling.
6-3 Nebraska on top of Maryland, and Case Sanderson steps to the plate. Last time up, he struck out. First time up, grounded into an inning-ending double play. And I asked a few Nebraska staffers before this game, what's it like after dropping a series to Rutgers and losing to Creighton? It says, we know Sears can go out there and do the best job he can, but the bats need to do their part and come alive. And they have done that tonight, and they have really got some hard-hit contact off of Coster, and that thing was a laser down the left field line.
And over in the Maryland bullpen, there's still not really any baseballs in the air. Still a lot of just, I don't know, band work or stretching from all those guys back there. They might have to hurry up a little bit.
And you really don't want to rush a pitcher's process as well, because they don't want to have any ligament damage. Makes complete sense as well. But it's one of those things, why wasn't that taken care of earlier in getting a guy out into that bullpen? Because we mentioned when this game was still tied at 3, it seemed a little interesting that the Terrapins at least didn't have someone out there with how high the pitch count is for Logan Coster, but it seems like this is going to be his inning to finish.
Yeah, that's really the point, right? It wasn't even necessarily that Coster was struggling too badly. It was pretty even with Brett Sears. It was more just about the pitch count. Getting up above 70 pitches, there was no real possible way that he was going to be able to go that much longer in this game with the way things were going. And on the Nebraska side of things, they don't really have anybody warming up too much either, so could be a sign for this game.
2-1. Sanderson's swings and misses right through in the count, even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Now, Brett Sears, he's sat for a long period of time as well, so that arm is starting to cool down a little bit. It would have to assume that he feels a little bit more refreshed when he goes out there. 2-2 outside in the count, even at 3 balls and 2 strikes. Some of these Nebraska fans trying to get in the mind of Logan Coster as well, as he sits at 86 pitches. The 3-2. Called ball 4, and Sanderson will draw a walk.
Now with Josh Caron coming to the plate, Huskers are inching close to batting around here in the 4th.
Caron singled his first time up, struck out his last time up, and has 2 on with 2 outs. And Nebraska ahead 6-3 over the Terrapins. And Logan Coster trying to get out of this inning now with a lot more movement in that bullpen for the Terrapins. More guys beginning to throw. First pitch to Caron, called the ball at 83 miles an hour. Coster looks, now deals the 1-0 home. This is a called ball at 84 miles an hour. Nebraska bats have really came to life, especially after what's kind of a rough weekend out in New Jersey against Rutgers, and then against Creighton, who's really owned them the last number of games. I mean, you go back, the last 25 games have almost been all in favor of Creighton. They lead the series, I want to say 14-11 in the last 25 over the Huskers. I think that sounds right. Especially the last 10 has just gone all the way of the Blue Jays. And to come alive against a good Maryland team and put together an outing like this, you have to be pleased. 3-0, skied, right side, foul ground, shading over and making the catch is Eddie Hacopia. And the fourth inning comes to a close. 4 runs cross the plate for the Huskers, a lot of hard-hit contact, and they have taken the lead over Maryland. They lead 6-3 as we go to the 5th inning here on Big Ten Plus.